I'm Dorothy Rowe, and the upcoming video is a little clip from a recent live webinar. It addresses the topic of birth trauma, and it includes a nice download and some healing for anybody who had traumatic experiences during their birth, as well as lots of other useful information regarding the spiritual nature of birth and the first days of life. If you like the content of this video, please do like and subscribe. Let me know about your birthing experiences. I'm very interested because this is an area that has a huge impact on people's whole lives. So the more energy healing we can do for it, the better. Thanks for being with me. I hope you love the video. I really want to honor this question because more than one person asked. Trauma for early birth experiences, for birth experiences and earliest childhood experiences. Most people do not remember, but as a mother, I can tell you, mom is usually feeling pretty wiped out after an experience like that. And as a result, you know, she feels like she needs to turn her energies onto herself to kind of get back up to her regular energy levels and feeling great again. I'm just going to focus on this for each person in this healing session. We're going to focus our attention back to the birth moment and the spirit world. According to Vedic science, we talked about cycles of time, right? So according to Vedic science, the cycle of time that you were in at the moment of death in the previous cycle of human experience, there's like a certain pattern of celestial influences on the body, and that it's at that exact same point in the cycle of celestial influences that you're reborn in this lifetime. So what that means is the same energies that were kind of responsible for the karma that took you out in the last incarnation you face them coming into this incarnation. The difference is that the planets are in a new location. So wherever the position of the planets was, whatever transits were influencing you in the previous incarnation, they are not influencing you. They're influencing in a different way in the present birth. So that's one of the principles that can often exacerbate challenges during birth time. The other thing is that each birth has its own unique story, and each story is an encapsulation of the entire lifetime. So all the karmas that you carry, all the blessings, all the troubles, everything kind of gets tied up in that birth experience, that process of those, I'd say this little while just near the end of the pregnancy, when the mother starts to go into pre-labor, and that can take a little while. The pre-labor starts to build into the actual birth. Another point from Vedic science is that the child's consciousness is in an exalted state in the last few months of pregnancy, and that the delivery itself is traumatic enough that it tends to wipe out a lot of memory. But it doesn't always, not for everyone. The peace that is activating for the consciousness at the time of birth is that sense of connection to wholeness, is that unshakable recognition that every particle of oneself in creation is divine in origin, even the worst of the worst. It's all divine in origin. It's all divine, it's all divine. That seems to be anchoring into the heart of the newborn. And when I say the newborn, I mean you as a newborn. Each newborn is anchoring that. It's anchoring like a thread in the astral body. That thread, that cord of light. When the cord of light comes, when the astral body The astral body forms in utero, but into that cord that runs down the center of the astral body, the anchor of that wisdom, of knowledge of self. Look, when children are so little and they have rough births, they haven't invested in their lives yet so much, right? They have minutes invested in their life or days invested in their life. Now, what can sometimes happen if a child is born with a physical problem is that the natural tendency to be born and then be very kind of like connected into the world, and oh, there's my mommy and there's my daddy and my brothers and sisters, or however that story is unfolding for the individual. Instead, the soul, if there's something wrong with that little physiology, they have to fold back into themselves, right? They have to turn in on their body and they have to attend. Basically, they have to do energy healing for themselves. And they have to figure out, what do I need to do to heal this body? Because doctors can only do so much. And of course, with a great shout out to all the great caregivers who support on many, many levels for little people as they're coming into this. It is a traumatic transition. And so who are caring for them. But in the end, we heal ourselves. In the end, we heal ourselves. In the end, we choose. And that's the thing, is that the choice of whether, do I really want to go through with this life or do I really want to do this? It's present at each point. And so even at the time of birth, the soul gets a chance to look at how things are going and say, okay, am I really committed here? Do I really want to do this? And that's why sometimes those issues will come up in the early moments of a person's life. How committed am I? And am I really on for this gig? The fact that you're here means that you decided yes, to be brave. And it does take courage. And I think the discomforts that the body feels as it's being birthed are kind of a message from this physical material realm that it's not all fun and games. It's not all fun and games. There are challenges. And what made it, I would say, yesterday's session so interesting is that, and also a friend emailed in about how one of our physicists, I think, emailed in and said that, it's not that the relative field, even in Sat Yuga, right? Even in that happy yuga where everything happens so easily, even there are armies and wars. Even there are people that have challenges doing things like conceiving children or whatever their intentions are, even there. So it means that our ability to step up to the challenges and meet them improves. And one of the things that having a problem in a little tiny born body does is it sets the first step of life on an inward path. That the soul comes into this world, but they're like, oh, I have to be self-referral. And so it's very often that I meet people, or they come for healing consultations or so, that have had some kind of birth experience that was a little challenging, because what it did was it helped them from day one to have an anchor or recognition to the inner resources of their being. Not to get too gripped, right? They didn't end up getting too gripped by the relative field, but they had to go back and look and see what's going on. And sometimes, even if the birth is fine, childhood illnesses can do the same thing. They can cause the person, when they're still young enough, to be untouched by the conditioning of our culture, to take an inward stroke and to get used to, oh, this is how I turn my awareness inside, where my resources are, where my power is, where my essential nature is. Oh, that's how I know who I really am and how I know I am. not only my own personal greatness, but the greatness of everyone else in this creation as well. How I'm able to see the greatness in others, how I'm able to see the divinity in others. That's coming in as a download for everybody, heart area.